Dear friends, the warmest greetings in the precious name of our Lord Jesus Christ. My name is Father Ronald J. Lay, Archbishop Patriarch of the Apostolic Church of Jerusalem. I'm addressing this message to our lawmakers, the Congress, Senate, Supreme Court, and United States General, and as well as any woman who is considering an abortion. I would like for you to pay close attention to what I'm going to say, because what I am going to say to you supersedes without question the law we have today regarding abortion, and I will prove this without a doubt. Not only this, but it puts our country at stake as well as our way of life. Well, I'm going to make this crystal clear for you, so let's get started. You know, I hear all the time from all lifestyles in America, people saying, God bless America. But how many times do you hear America should be blessing God and mean it? As long as this country murders the most innocent blood, God is not going to bless this country. When the cup of iniquity is full, this country will fall. I believe we are close to it now because of the Holocaust that is going on in this nation right now. A Holocaust is being murdered for who you are or for what stage of life you're in. What God hates most of all is the shedding of innocent blood. I am sent here today by God to tell you that He will not bless this nation until the shedding of innocent blood is stopped. This is becoming more apparent with each passing day. The Holocaust in this nation is due to ego, selfishness, and just plain evil nature of some people. What I am talking about are the living babies that are being murdered in the womb, and now worse than ever, right up to the time of birth. This country has aborted or murdered between 60 and 70 million babies, the most innocent and defenseless of all living human beings. These are only the ones that we know about. I tell you that at the end of 4 months, a baby is not just a fetus. She has a body of her own with a soul, a spirit, and a beating heart, the same as you and I. The little fly weight, even if she is only 6 or 7 ounces and 7 inches in length, she now qualifies as a legitimate living human being in the early dawn of humanity. To abort her is plain and simple murder. At this stage in her life, she is gaining muscle mass. Her back is strengthening, and she can straighten her head and her neck and other parts of her body. In addition, she has reflexes such as sucking and swallowing. The baby's heartbeat now is audible through an instrument called a Doppler. And a couple of weeks later with a doctor's stethoscope. She can even make facial expressions and begin to suck her thumb. At this point, the mother can feel the movement called quickening, and therefore no abortion should be done after 4 months. This is why the 4-month abortion law that I propose cannot just be for various states, but it has to be a federal law, because if one state has a law against abortion and the next state does not, they simply cross the state line into another state that does not have the abortion law. Our blessed Lord Jesus Christ was the most innocent one to have ever been, because He was the Son of God. However, the most innocent today on the face of the earth are the unborn, still in the womb, and those ready to be born. At the end of 4 months during pregnancy, These living babies have a body, a soul, a spirit, and a beating heart, created just like you and me. Yet you murder them and say, well, it's my body and I can do as I please. What kind of woman pays or does not pay to murder her own child? In addition, what about the babies assassins called doctors? They dismember these living babies and put their parts into a room they have called a nursery of all things. Let me say to these doctors that you have lost your way. Being a doctor is about saving lives, not destroying them. When you take your last breath, a lake of fire awaits you unless you repent from your heart and stop what you are doing. Also, for you women who say it's your body, God says it is not. It is not your body. It is not your soul. It is not your spirit. In addition, it is not your body being ripped apart and sold for money. There is no greater evil on earth. You and others want to call it abortion because it sounds so much nicer than premeditated murder. Let me say to you, it is an abomination to the living God, and he says he will not hold any blameless for the death of innocent blood. The country destroys innocent human life with no penalty, more now than ever before. I was told in the United States that an abortion is done every 20 seconds. Did you know a few years ago there were more babies aborted or murdered in 9 days than there were soldiers killed in Vietnam in 9 years? As the Venerable Archbishop Sheen once said, the problem in our country are there are no boundaries. And he was right. Even though we are a free nation, we still need to have boundaries. When we cross one state line to another, we know this because there are state lines or there are boundaries. Even in sports, there are boundaries or there are foul lines. If we do not have boundaries, then things can get out of hand. For instance, I saw on TV 2 or 3 men stepping on our flag in the mud and then burning it. Some may say they can do that because it's a free nation. Wrong. See how things can get out of hand? Those men should have been put in prison for desecration of our country's flag, the flag that so many have died for. Free does not mean there are no limitations. So it is with abortion in the womb. There is no excuse for abortion unless the mother's life is in danger. On the market today, there are what they call the day after pill. It's accessible to almost everyone. In addition, our birth control pills, our diaphragms, or prophylactics. Of course, I could say abstinence, but if that were the case, I wouldn't be talking about all these other options. The fact is, America is becoming a nation that honors death instead of life. These murders of the innocent must stop. Our country is in a moral downward spiral. In 1960, when I was a teenager, Nikita Khrushchev said, "We will take America without firing a shot. We will bury you." We cannot expect American people to jump from capitalism to communism, but we can assist their elected leaders in giving them small doses of socialism until they awake one day and find they have communism. We do not have to invade the United States. we will destroy them within. This is where our country is headed at our current rate of speed. God sent me to tell you to stop the murdering of innocent blood. I propose and insist on a 4-month abortion law or 16 full weeks, and it needs to be passed and go into effect immediately. Many lives are being murdered every day through abortion. A baby at 4 months has a body, a soul, a spirit, and a beating heart. Its body may not be as large as yours, but its soul and spirit are just as large. Now you notice I said murdering, not killing. Although the end result is the same, the difference is crucial. If an intruder breaks into your home and tries to murder you or rape your wife, and as a result of a struggle with him, he is dead, you have not sinned in the eyes of God. Your intentions were not evil, but his were. In 1 Timothy 5:8 says, if one does not take care of his relatives, especially the members of his family, he has denied the faith and is worse than a non-believer. People may say, thou shalt not kill, but it is really thou shalt not murder. Sometimes you might have to kill, as I just mentioned, but you should never murder. This was a mistranslation from Hebrew to English. It is planned. If it is planned, it is premeditated murder. In most courts today, premeditated murder constitutes the death penalty. If he murders a pregnant woman, he stands good for 2 murders. And is that not a contradiction? That they murder a baby in the womb without any penalty? Of course it is. Did you know if an unborn sea turtle is murdered, there is $100,000 fine and 1 year in prison? If an unborn eagle is murdered, there is a $250,000 fine and 2 years in prison. If yet an unborn human being is murdered by abortion, there is no penalty. What a travesty. Are you saying that an eagle or a sea turtle is more important than an unborn living human being is? A human being is God's greatest creation. Let me tell you a true story that had severe consequences, much like what you are allowing to happen today. In my early 20s, in 1969, a man by the name of Charles Manson orchestrated a group of his followers to enter a particular house and murder everyone in there in the most gruesome way possible. They did the evil deed that he sent them to do, and that was known as the Sharon Tate murders. Sharon Tate was 8.5 months pregnant and begged for her baby's life. However, she and her baby were murdered along with everyone else in the house. Even though Charles Manson never took part in these actions, he was found guilty of allowing it to happen by directing it and was sentenced to be executed. However, before this could take place, California dismissed the death penalty and his sentence was reduced to life in prison. And even though he did not participate in the actual murders, he was denied parole numerous times, and he died in prison not too long ago at the age of 83. Lawmakers, let me shock you with the truth. The difference between you and Charles Manson is that you do not actually direct the murders of the innocent, because these women already have their own direction, but you give them permission by the laws you have passed. This is like a sci-fi movie by ripping beings apart and selling their body parts. However, it is a reality. There should be a time limit after which an abortion could not be performed, and that cutoff date should be at the end of 4 months. The reason for this is that the baby has a body of its own, with a soul, a spirit, and a beating heart. It no longer belongs to the mother. It has become a human being just as its mother has, and to destroy it at this stage is premeditated murder. If an abortion is performed even 1 day after 4 months, the doctor, as well as the woman, must pay the penalty of the law, because without a penalty, it's really not a law. But it's more like a request, and they're not going to pay any attention to that. I am proposing the following penalties. The doctor, for the first offense, spend 1 year and 1 day incarcerated and be unable to perform any more abortions. The 1 day means you spend the full year. The second offense of the doctor, again, he spends 1 year and 1 day incarcerated, and he has his medical license revoked. Now, for the woman, for her first offense, she spends 1 year and 1 day incarcerated. The second offense, she spends 1 year and 1 day incarcerated and made sterile, so that she cannot murder any other babies. In addition, any doctors who give a back alley abortion shall automatically receive 5 years in prison and his license revoked, if he even has one. A woman who has a back alley abortion shall also be given 1 year and 1 day incarcerated and made sterile as not to become pregnant again. These penalties must be enforced in order for this law to be effective. By murdering an unborn living child, you must consider you are not only murdering one child, but every generation that baby could have had on its own. If a woman goes past the 4-month period and makes the right choice of having the baby, many families would love to adopt the baby and would be happy to pay for the prenatal care and perhaps even provide some financial assistance to you. This would not only save the baby, but it would also save the mother later in life the years of torment, knowing that she murdered her child. We're still a Christian nation, and we still believe in the living God, Jesus Christ. As Christians, we honor life and not death. Therefore, a vote for this law I propose is a vote for America. You need to pass this 4-month abortion law immediately, because so many little lives are at stake. Remember, your vote makes you either a part of life or a part of death. Our founding fathers would think this abortion was a hideous crime, and during their day, they would have tarred and feathered you, because they founded our country on Christian values. Let me say that destroying life and honoring death leads to communism. It leads to abortions, babies being murdered in the womb. Infanticide, which is infant homicide, is murdering a baby during the first year of its life because it is illegitimate or is unhealthy or deformed or even the wrong sex. Euthanasia, murdering of the elderly. And then what? The retarded, the crippled, or the disabled? You know, the pro-choice movement is based entirely on error. They talk about abortion as a right to choose, but it is impossible for a Christian or anyone to argue that any right has precedence over the basic right to life. The right, such as a 4-month baby in the womb, is so basic of a potential that it must supersede the minor right of an adult human. Hence, abortion is a sin. We do not murder any babies, black, white, red, yellow, or brown, no matter what the religion the parents are. All babies have their right to life the same as you and I. Whatever they may become, it's their right to life, and God has a purpose for them. We're going to see to it that these babies have that God-given right to life. We were made in the image of God, and we're expected to act as such. We must fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Did you know that a 4-month-old baby in the womb starts to suck her thumb? Even more shocking, during the abortion, the baby will try to avoid the abortion instrument of the assassin doctor, which will tear it apart. You see, it wants to live too. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a fact of life that we're going to die. It's not a matter if, but when. And when we do, we will each stand before God alone. There will be no excuse, because He has no tolerance for the shedding of innocent blood. And Psalms 14:1 says that a fool said in his heart that there is no God. Trust me when I say that there will be no atheist in hell. The sanctity of life is so holy and sacred and otherwise of such value that it is not to be violated. However, Charles Manson did not see it that way. He gave his permission to perform the act, even though he didn't do it himself. Moreover, do you lawmakers feel you have the right to give your permission through the laws you have passed to murder these innocent babies in the most gruesome way possible by pulling them apart? Let me say to you that you cannot legislate premeditated murder of an innocent human being in the womb any more than you can of an innocent human being outside the womb. Today's law on abortion is nothing less than allowing legal premeditated murder. This is why there should never be an abortion after 4 months. I would like to show you a picture of a precious baby just born and laid on her mother's breast. And as you can tell, the mother is talking to her, and although she cannot see very well yet, she recognizes her mother's voice. This baby is one of the fortunate ones that I'd like to show you. Now imagine this precious same baby, according to your laws, being in an abortion clinic. She would have been ripped apart right up to the time of birth. In the name of God, these are human beings. I'm a priest and I harm no one. I am a prophet or a messenger sent by God, whichever you prefer. It is the Almighty God and His wrath that you will be dealing with, not me. As Christians, whether you're Catholic or Protestant, whether you're Democrat or Republican, as Archbishop Patriarch, I beg you and I order you to stop the murdering of these babies in their womb for the sake of their souls and of your own. I would not test the Lord your God. If you want forgiveness, then you can start by changing the law. The murderous people who will not change their vote must be voted out or impeached from office for the sake of these babies and for the sake of America. You who continue to vote for abortion after the 4-month period should be held accountable for every baby that you are party to while in office. Murdering of these silent, screaming infants in the earliest dawn of life. And you noticed I said silent screaming. Do you think that a 4-month-old baby who tries to avoid the instruments of destruction is not screaming just because you can't hear it? Wouldn't you scream if you were being ripped apart? I have proven to you at the end of 4 months these babies are legitimate, living human beings, and to abort them after the time is premeditated murder. However, you and the assassin doctors write the date and the time for these abortions on a calendar. This is why it's so important that this 4-month abortion law and its penalties for breaking this law must be passed immediately, and the penalties be strictly enforced as well. I would like to say life is precious and beautiful. We as American people that murders innocent, defenseless human beings in the womb. I implore you to stop the murdering of these babies. It is their basic right to life, the same as you and I, and nothing comes before that. I have done the job that God has called me to do, and I strongly suggest you do what you've been instructed to do. If you do not, and the murders continue, then you are no better than the woman having the abortion or a doctor who rips these babies apart, or the lawmakers who will not change the abortion law. Well, there you have it. The unholy trinity, the baby murderers, the woman, the doctor, and the lawmakers who vote for the law to give their permission to let it happen. You're the key. There are no possible reasons to carry a baby 4 to 8 months or even right up to birth and then murder it. This is murder, plain and simple. You carry the child this long, go ahead and give it birth. Then adopt the child out and give it to a family that will give it a chance to live the same as your parents gave you. Do not deny that baby its chance to live, and God will honor that, and it will give you peace in your later years. Children are a gift from the Lord, a reward from Him. To abort living babies in the womb is immoral. To all mothers-to-be, to murder your living baby in your womb will haunt you all the days of your life until you face God. Do you lawmakers enjoy having the power that you have to allow and give your permission to such a heinous crime? These babies 4 months and older are living human beings in the very dawn of life, with their own body and their own soul and spirit and their own beating heart. Yet they are being murdered every day. The abortion law we have now, allowing abortion right up to the time of birth, cannot and is not a legal law, because you cannot legislate premeditated murder, because it is certainly a crime against humanity. And it must be stopped now. The 4-month abortion law I have proposed is because no one has the right to take its life, not the mother or anyone else. You cannot legislate a law saying that you can take the life of this precious baby. Life is beautiful and no one has the right to take it, just because it's inconvenient to someone. What kind of person could vote for a law like this? This law needs to be changed now, along with its penalties. I understand that not all of you voted to murder these babies, but I'm speaking to anyone who did. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, these babies 4 months and older in the womb are living human beings. Millions upon millions of these babies have been murdered, and this is a crime against humanity. Like Manson, you're not pulling the trigger yourself, but you're giving your permission and allowing them to do so by the laws that you have passed. Change the law that I have proposed to the end of 4 months, and that will be the end of it. Change the law, or I promise you, I will exhaust every legal avenue to hold you responsible for the deaths of these innocent and defenseless living human beings. This is extermination and a crime against humanity. I pray I will not have to invoke such measures. As I've said, I am a priest and I harm no one. But it's my job, however, to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. You should not think that you could go to a place of worship and expect your prayers to meet with a favorable outcome if you are one who will not change your vote to keep these babies from being ripped apart. This is without a doubt one of the most heinous of all crimes on the face of the earth. It is also an abomination to the living God. Change the law now. Do this, and maybe God will have mercy on us and bless America once again. In closing, I want all of you to know that life is a passion for all of us. And it's also a passion for the unborn. In addition to the unborn babies having a body, soul, a spirit, and a beating heart, they also have a trait which makes them human beings, and that trait is self-awareness. And that is why they do their best to avoid the instruments of murderous doctors, because he or she has a passion to live also. However, these poor babies have nowhere to go, so the murderous doctors take their passion to live. It gives me so much Christian anger that it's difficult to put into words. I do not want to hear any arguments about Roe versus Wade, because it does not apply to my 4-month abortion law. Starting with the 5th month, the baby is a legitimate human being with a body, a soul, a spirit, a beating heart, and self-awareness. No one has the right to take its life at this stage, not the mother, not the Supreme Court, or our Constitution, because it is an innocent human being, the same as you and I. If anyone does, they need to stand trial for it. Let me say this, if you change the law to read that no baby is to be aborted past 4 months, then that will be the end of it. However, if you choose to test me, I promise you that your fight with me has just begun. Because this makes you that voted for this law an accessory to premeditated murder of an unborn living human being, and you should stand trial for your actions. No one is above the law, especially the sanctity of life. If I had to put you and all that think like you in a biblical verse, it would be Matthew 2, when Herod ordered the slaughtering of the innocent. You know, there have been women who have gave their lives in order that their babies would have a chance to live. You see, that only happens when you love someone more than you love yourself. God bless these mothers, and He has, because they went straight to heaven. However, many of you women will probably never know the meaning of true loss, because a person without love and compassion in your heart is no more than an empty shell. This, however, is not what is being asked of you. Just have the baby and give it a chance to live. If you adopt the baby out, you will probably be given financial assistance for doing the right thing, rather than let some stranger rip your baby apart and then sell its body parts. It sounds like cold-blooded murder. Is that you? I certainly pray not. It is my prayer that you still have the power of love inside you that God gave you. Do the godly thing, and He will be pleased with you. In America, there was a time when we fought for what was right. We stood up for moral reasons, and we abolished laws that were morally wrong. Let us be that country again. If I'm martyred because of what I've said here today, and it changes hope into reality for these babies, I'm willing to pay the price. I would appreciate any doctor and attorney who would be willing to go to the Supreme Court with me if necessary. If anyone wishes to join me in this fight or would like to donate to this cause, you may reach me at the following address: America's Crime Against Humanity, Post Office Box 701-648. That's 701-648. St. Cloud, Florida 34770. Also, God has given me the gift of healing, which He has proven many times. If you or any of your family members or anyone you know needs prayer, please feel free to send me a note with their name and need, and I will pray for them directly. In addition, I would appreciate your prayers for me also, as I continue this tremendous struggle for the unborn human beings. God bless you all in the service of Christ. I'm Archbishop Patriarch Ronald J. Lay,